Hey everyone. I was having a discussion today with a guy by the name of Dustin about the interpretation of the different lays and the old skaldic poetry. He was saying, do I look at it, asking me if I do look at it literally, or do I look for allegorical meanings and other esoteric knowledge, and as he does. So the conversation went along very nicely, and of course, I do look for allegorical and esoteric knowledge, as I think it's didactic, and just like the ancient skalds, when they wrote runes, they would try to put in as many meanings as they could. They would write not only right from left, left to right, vertically, diagonally, and every other way to try to impart as much meaning. It was oftentimes looked at the more meanings you could give would be the higher level of skill that you had. So, of course, I would look for any other hidden subtext, as there should be ton in poetry. Every single poet, from Walton to Frost to Poe to the ancient poets who have no names, to Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, all have subtext. So then the conversation turned a little bit to how I view the gods and goddesses. And I explained it in the best way I could, which was that first and foremost, they are the personification of natural phenomena or the forces of nature, and that's how my ancestors understood them, and that's enough for me, and they don't have to be anything else. But I like to think they're more, because as a person, I'm an agnostic deist, I'm a skeptic. I would like there to be more significance in the world, but I understand that sometimes there just isn't. So I said that I looked at them first and foremost from my ancestors' point of view, and how they used them to put order in the natural world and explain phenomena, the forces of nature, in terms they could understand. Hence, the blonde hair and the red beard, nothing to do with race, only a mirror of the world they saw around them. And of course, I continued that they could be the personification of the unseen forces in the earth, such as the underlying energy that controls the cosmos. And finally, as the deities, as they are described, as beings, as personages, historical personages. But they can be everything around us all at once, and then nothing at all. Archetypes, role models for inspiration, and also motivators. You know, I think that they're born from the chaos of the myths and born from the chaos of the world that the ancient people lived in. I mean, they lived in a rapidly changing world. When the ice sheets were present, it was a tundra, and they hunted megafauna. And then when the ice sheets melted, the forest rose up. It was constantly changing. 10 generations would go by and the entire strata of the environment would change. And that had a profound effect. And it affected the way to describe the world. Born from mist and chaos, there was a primordial mist, a primordial Gunyagap. And unfortunately, the true origin, whether it be myth, or whether it be something from the collective unconscious, is lost to the primordial fog and mist of people before us. And then it was really interesting because this gentleman responded back that he always looked at it like the gods are part of us. You know, Odin represents the cognitive parts, and Thor our strength, and Tyr our honor. And I like that, and I espouse that. It is a very esoteric way to look at things, and it's also very good. I used to read the Greek myths, and I read that some of the ancient Greek philosophers looked at it that way. So that's an interpretation I have not thought about myself, but I know from prior reading in other polytheistic forms that were written about historically that was a concept that people espoused. So I really enjoyed the conversation, and it was like it really amazed me that the very vernacular that we have today, even in English, the entire cosmology, the entire creation myth, has entered into our colloquial vernacular. Our colloquial language talks about primordial fogs and mists and chaos. Well, that is the Nordic mythos, that proves how pervasive it is. And that shows that English has grown, is a true Germanic language, and that Western culture in general is a successor culture to the ancient Norse and to the old ways and to the ancients. We are their successors still in today's culture. And that was a very interesting realization to me. As much as we try to distance ourselves from them, or as our modern world, our Christian world, our monotheistic world tries to distance ourselves from them, we still explain the unknown in the same context that the ancient cosmology of the Northmen was explained. We still use the same words, the same colloquial speak. And that's amazing. That was a good realization for me. And then when we talked about it, and then this gentleman said, Dustin is his name, he deserves full credit. He said, I kind of look at us as Yggdrasil. We represent. And Yggdrasil is the unifier. Yggdrasil is the unifying principle of the world around us. Whether that is poetic and allegorical, or whether that's literal, we do espouse the interconnectedness of the world. Without the plants and without the animals consuming the plants, without us, without the cycle of life, there can be no life. So how could we be any different? We espouse the underlying principle of the energy of the world. And we are very much a successor culture to the Old Norse. Just thought that was quite interesting. Something I was thinking about on my ride home out of Gothenburg today. I hope you all enjoyed. Have a good night, and scum.